quick conclusion here. That those of you who raised your hand, I can speak English, did not learn English when you achieved your PhD or finished your master's degree, or when you finally received your BA or went to high school, that you learned English when you were around 2 years old. You were learning one of the most difficult languages in the world before you could walk, before you could talk, before you could feed yourself, change yourself, before you had any genuine value to society, before you could hold a job, before you were bringing in income, you were learning one of the most difficult languages in the world. And if they had moved you from wherever you lived to Tokyo, you would have learned Japanese at the age of 2. If they'd moved you to the Philippines, you would have learned Tagalog. But if you were also a linguistic savant, then is it possible you were also a creative genius? That when you were 2 years old, you were a creative genius, equally as you were a linguistic savant, but somewhere along the way, that genius inside of you, that creativity inside of you, that capacity inside of you, instead of being awakened and optimized, was actually beaten away and lost. Years ago, I began asking myself this question: what makes us uniquely human? See, some people have been entrusted with the great burden of great talent. We're that one unique species that doesn't seem to know how to be human, even though that's the only species we are. Isn't it odd that humans go to therapy to figure out what it means to be human, how to do human well? I just don't think there are killer whales going, I don't know if I got this right. And yet we never put that classification on any other species. Do you know why? It's because we humans have this unique capacity to imagine ourselves different than we are, better than we are. See, we humans have this unique gift known as the imagination. And I am convinced that what makes us uniquely humans is that we materialize the invisible. Doesn't that sound like a superpower? If you are a human being, you have the capacity. In fact, this is an inherent nature of being human. You materialize the invisible on an ongoing, regular basis, even though you may not realize it. See, as a human being, you imagine a world that does not exist. You imagine a future that has not been created. You imagine a life you've never lived. You imagine a self you have never become. And that imagination that we call ideals drives us. Sometimes they haunt us and taunt us, but they always woo us and call us, which is why the imagination is both a curse and a gift. Some of you know your imagination has been a curse. And yet you will live your life always haunted by a sense of more. Of wondering if you've lived the life you were created to live, if you've ever stepped into the full potential of who you are as a human being. Because you're human, you can have the name farmer and become an architect. You can have the name carpenter, you can become a dancer. You can have the name Smith and become an engineer. Because humans can reimagine who they are and create a future that does not yet exist. See, we live in the world of ideas and dreams and visions and thoughts. We are talking about a future that does not yet exist. And really, if anyone should be meeting about climate change, it should be polar bears and penguins, but they do not have the foresight or the personal responsibility to do something about the problems in the world. But we can see where this is going, and so we need to do something about it. I was in a conversation in Rio de Janeiro at TED. And one of my friends who invited me to Hong Kong came and said, what we really need is the highest level of human consciousness. We need the elimination of all thought. I said, when you said the elimination of all thought, do you also mean the imagination? He said, absolutely, we need to eliminate the imagination. He goes, but not only that, we need to eliminate all feeling. So now when you're saying, let's eliminate all feeling, do you also include love? He goes, absolutely, we need to eliminate all love, all thought and all feeling. I said, no, maybe I'm missing something here. But if you give me love and imagination, I can change the world. See, I am convinced that what we as humans bring that is different than every other species on this planet is in the same way that bees create hives and ants create colonies, humans create futures. And what we oftentimes underestimate is the human capacity to create a future that the world desperately needs. You see, evil men do not wait for permission to create what they imagine. But good people keep responding to the future as if we have no control over what's coming into the human story. We need to realize that it's time for us to embrace our responsibility, that we have been imagined to imagine, created to create, and that we are all works of art and artists at work, and that there is no question whether we will create. The only question is, what will we create? There's some of you here who are haunted by your imagination. You imagine a world without poverty. You are haunted by your imagination. You imagine a world without injustice. You are haunted by your imagination. You are haunted by an imagination of a world with peace, without violence, with equality, with economic prosperity for everyone. You imagine a world where we take social responsibility and environmental responsibility. You imagine a world that has never been known, has never been experienced, has never been created. But you know that it's more important to imagine and create than to reflect and regret. The question is not whether we can create or whether we will create, but what kind of future will we create?